hear something, then okay, go ahead.
All right, so welcome everyone to the GADEPS seminar. So today we are very happy to have Johan Brunbab, who will speak about increasing hyperbolicity of varieties supporting a variation of Hodge structures with level structures.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction and for the invitation to speak to your seminar. So yeah, today I'd like to speak about some links between Hodge theory and proving hyperbolicity properties of some algebraic varieties. So I will do an introduction to explain, to motivate in a special case the result I want to present. Okay, so intro, and I will need to recall some definition. So fix a complex. So I will walk over C in all the talk. So I fix an abelian variety of dimension G. And I fix also an integer, at least 2. And so by definition, a level n structure on this abelian variety. So there are different equivalent ways to define it. So first way, so it's an isomorphism. I can look at the group of n torsion point in my abelian variety. So okay, the abelian variety is a group. I have the n torsion point, and we know that this group is isomorphic to the following finite group, 10 over n z to the power 2g. And so by definition, a level n structure is to fix an isomorphism of the n torsion group with this group. Or if you want to fix a basis of the ZNZ module of torsion point, n torsion point. And so another point of view on this, a more topological point of view, is the following. So it is the same to fix. So I can look at the singular homology of A with coefficient in Z over in Z. And it's an exercise to verify that it's canonically isomorphic to the n torsion of the abelian variety. And so the level n structure is the same as fixing a basis of this module. Okay, so this is usually people define symplectic level n structure. So a level n structure which is compatible with the natural symplectic form on this, but I will do this more general setting. And so with this, we can look at the following object. So I will denote by AGN, so it's n, the moduli stack of principally polarized complex abelian varieties equipped with a level n structure. Okay, so a priori it's only a stack, but the good thing about level structure is that if n is at least 3, in fact, you can show that this is represented by a quasi-projective normal complex variety. Okay, so it's a nice variety when n is at least 3. Okay, and the general question I want to ask is, can we say something about the geometry of this space? So can we say something about the subvariety it contains, the curves and everything? So let me state a very classical result about this space. So the following proposition, which says that every morphism, so algebraic map from P1 to AGN. Okay, so as a stack in general, or when n is at least 3 between algebraic varieties, is constant. Okay, so it says that in some way, well, it says that there are no rational curves in AGN. And let me give a proof, because it's pretty easy if you know the basics about moduli of abelian varieties. So the idea is that, so we have our map from P1 to AGN. And now from a complex theoretic point of view, AGN is just the quotient of the Siegel half space of rank G by a discrete group. Or if you want, the universal cover of AGN is this Siegel half space. And the Siegel half space can be realized as a bounded domain in some affine space. Okay, so this is a Siegel half space.
Do we assume symplectic level 1 structures now?
No. So you are right. You're completely right. So if I don't ask, okay. So AGN is not connected. So it's true. So it will be a disjoint union of finitely many connected components, and each connected component is uniformized by AG. So you are right. I should, because P1 is connected, I should first fix the connected component in which I land, and then uniformize. Okay. Well, there is still a map like this. Thank you. I was not careful enough. And now, because Pi1 is simply connected, so I can lift this map. And so clearly, so I have now a map from Pi1 to HG, which is included in some affine space. So I can look at the coordinate function. And because Pi1 is compact, they need all to be constant. Okay, so it shows that the map is constant. And if you think about it, the same, almost the same argument shows something much stronger. So let me observe it. So more generally, every holomorphic map, so from C to AGN, is constant. Okay, and so what is the argument? So I do the same argument with C in place of Pi1. So C is simply connected, so I can do the same thing. And now I need to show that every map from C, holomorphic map from C to HG is constant. And now this comes from the fact that HG is not only an open subset of some affine space, but it's realized as a bounded domain. Okay, so, and now you use that every, so in particular, the coordinate function of the composition, like this, they will be bounded. And we know by Liouville theorem that every holomorphic function which is bounded is constant. Okay, so it shows this stronger statement, which says that so people, when every holomorphic map from C is constant, people say that a variety is Brody hyperbolic. So it's so this result says that AGN is hyperbolic in some way. Okay, so this is a first result in this direction. So now, in fact, and it has nothing to do with N. Okay, we just use that the universal cover is HG. But now I'd like to show that, in fact, when N gets bigger and bigger, in fact, in some way, AGN gets more hyperbolic. So, and probably the first result in this direction was proved by Nedel, so in the 80s. And then, so there were some better version with the constant. So in particular, there were another approach given by Rousseau, Erwan Rousseau. And so the result says this. So if you take an integer n bigger than 6 times j, then every rational map from pi1 to AGN is constant. Okay, so this result is of course stronger. Of course, I don't know if it's of course, but it is stronger because it says something about the, in fact, about the compactification of AGN, if you think about it. Okay, and also it's important that n is sufficiently big. So for example, if you take G equals 1, so if you look at moduli space of elliptic curves, we know that for a small level structure, they are not, they are even equal to pi1. And maybe another more striking example. So when J equals 2, so when J equals 2, if you look at this space, so A2 with a level 3 structure, it is birational to P3. Is birational. Okay, so you have a lot of rational curves inside. But now, if you let the level structure getting bigger, it's far from being rational. You don't even have one rational curve. Okay, so now the general question I want to address is the following. So first question, can we say something about rational map, but now not from pi1, but from higher genus curves? So what about rational maps C from C to AGN? So where C is a higher genus curve. And the second question is, can we say something about the higher dimensional subvarieties? So are there any questions so far? No, so yeah, so in this direction of higher dimensional subvarieties, let me give a first result that I proved a few years ago, which says that so with the same condition, n bigger than 6j, every subvariety of AGN is of general type. Okay, so you can view this result as a generalization of Nedel theorem for higher dimensional subvariety of AGN. Okay, but so now I will address the question I gave, but in a slight, in a more general context. And so we will see what the property of AG that I will use is that it supports a canonical variation of our structure with a maximal variation. So in fact, the result I will explain, they hold in a much bigger generalities. And so let me give the general setup. Yeah, so please interrupt me if you have any question.
Johan, maybe it is okay. And bigger than 6G is sharp, no? I mean, so the things
So
that fail.
Exactly. So it's sharp, for example, for elliptic curves. But it's so for I mean for J equals 1, because you can prove that for elliptic curves. So the modular curve, so it's a curve, and its genus is 2 exactly. So it at least 2, sorry, exactly when n is at least 7. So for elliptic curves, it's sharp. But then for higher dimensional thing, I don't know, and I'm sure it's not.
Okay.
So in fact, this condition comes from the fact that so you will see from the talk, but the hyperbolicity of subvarieties of AGN and general Shimura varieties and so on is controlled by the positivity of the canonical automorphic line bundle. And so it controls in one way. I mean, it's only an implication. And so each time you know something about the positivity of this automorphic line bundle, then you get something. And it turns out that, for example, for AGN, it's well understood, the existence of a cusp form with some, I mean, I will come back to this later, but it's related to this. But no, it's not. So the answer is it's not sharp in general. Yeah. So any other question?
I have a question, a naive question. So there exists some example of a compact curve inside?
Inside the AGN?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So here is a way to prove that there exists some. So there are many constructions, not many. There are some construction. So there is a well-known construction by Kodera Parchin, but I can give you a more abstract argument that shows that there are some curves. So let me. So I will write it. Okay. I don't know, remark. So you have this AGN. And so Belli and Borel constructed a canonical compactification of AGN. So by a projective normal complex variety. And moreover, they proved that the boundary, so the complementary, okay, it has codimension, so at least J. Okay. And so now what you can do is you can do, so if you take a complete intersection, so for example, a curve which is a complete intersection, for curves, is J is at least 2, you will be able to miss the boundary. Okay, so this is a way to construct curves inside AGN.
Okay, so you have many examples.
Yeah, many examples. On the other hand, you don't really, yes, you cannot say much.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
okay.
know. They are over a very special way. Yeah. So yeah, but on the other hand, so the difference. So my theorem in particular, it's not really about a subvariety, because I'm not asking that it's a compact subvariety. Okay, when I say maybe I should have precised this. Sorry. So a subvariety, it's a closed subvariety, but maybe non-compact. And I will say that it's of general type if any smooth projective variety which is birational to it is of general type. Okay, this is a usual definition saying that a variety is of general type. It's a birational notion. You don't ask that it's either non-singular or nor proper. Okay. So sorry, I should have precised it. Okay. So general type here, this means that every smooth proper, if you want, variety rational to it is of general type. Okay, and for a smooth projective variety, smooth proper variety, being of general type means that if you look at the section of powers of the canonical bundle, you have a lot of them. I mean, they grow maximally. They sufficient. So, for example, a way to say is that a power of the canonical bundle give a birational embedding of your variety. Okay. So now let me go back to the general setup. So I will fix a complex algebraic variety. And I will fix on it a local system. So torsion-free one. So one way to say it is a locally free ZX module. So on the underlying analytic space. And so in particular, with this data, I can define notion of level structure and the corresponding finite étale cover. Okay, so let me explain that. So for any integer, I have a natural finite étale cover of level n structure on my local system. So what do I mean by this? So if I take a point in X, so the fiber at this point is a free Z module. Now I reduce modulo n, so I get a free Z over NZ module. And so I can look at the set of bases of this Z over NZ module. Okay, and so this form a torsor, and this is this object. Okay, so this is the set of bases of the fibers. And so in particular, it has the property that if you pull back my local system to this, its reduction modulo n is trivial. And it's a universal way to do this. Okay, so I have a family of finite étale cover. And so with some conditions that I will introduce, the idea is that this finite étale cover will get more and more hyperbolic. Okay, so let me just stress that if you do this with HG, but so to be precise, I should look at HG as a stack. Norbifold. And if you look on HG, you have the universal family. Okay, then I can take for my local system, I look at the relative homology. Okay, so the dual of the relative cohomology. So this is the relative homology in degree 1. Okay, and if I do the construction I explained just before, what I get is exactly the AGN. Okay, so now I need another assumption. So I will assume that L underlies a variation of Hodge structure. So precisely a polarized variation of Hodge structure. So I will write this PVHS. So I guess everybody is knows this notion, and so yeah. So this is the data of 3 things. So a local system. So here it's my L, the local system. I want a filtration on the associated holomorphic vector bundle, and also C-infinity Hermitian metric, a smooth Hermitian metric, and I want the usual compatibilities. So if you're not familiar with this, let me just say that, so in particular, the example before works, so family of abelian varieties, but more generally, how you get this kind of object just by looking at the relative cohomology or homology of family of smooth projective manifold. Okay, so I can look at this. So I remove the torsion. If for any smooth projective morphism. Okay. So now I can give you the result. Okay, so you have this complex algebraic variety equipped with a local system, and so out of it you get this collection of finite étale covers, and moreover you assume that the local system underlies a variation of Roth structure, a polarized one, and I need some maximality assumption. So I assume that the period map of this variation of Roth structure is quasi-finite. Okay, so this is a very strong assumption. But if you start with any variation of Roth structure, in fact, the map from the variety to the period domain will factorize through, so up to finite étale cover, it will factorize through a variety equipped with a period map which is quasi-finite. I mean, so in fact, you can always reduce to this situation, and it is the situation where you can say something. Okay, when, if you want, when the variation of Roth structure, you can say something. And so what is the result? So let me first give a not precise statement. So the statement is that if you look at the level structure covers for prime numbers, they will get more and more hyperbolic. Okay, so it xp get more hyperbolic as the p a prime number. So for technical reason, I need to restrict to prime numbers, gets bigger. And so now let me give the more precise statement. So in fact, there are 3 of them. So first statement, so it's a generalization of the one I gave for moduli of abelian varieties. So if the prime number p is sufficiently big, then all subvarieties of xp are of general type. Okay, so this is so if you apply this with x ag, so you need to be precise because I state it only for algebraic varieties, but it works also for Deligne-Mumford stacks if you want. And so if you apply in this special case, you get the result I stated before. Okay, so it's a generalization in this much bigger setting. Now, a second property that you have is that you can say something. So in particular, because all the subvarieties are of general type, it says that all the curves need to have genus at least 2. But it turned out that if you let the level getting higher and higher, in fact, you can make the genus get higher. Okay, so let me state it. So if P is bigger than a function of G, so G for genus, then all curves in XP have genus at least J. Okay, so here also, when I say curve, so it's maybe non-compact or non-singular, and so the genus is the genus of the corresponding smooth projective curve. Okay, so you can make the genus as big as you want. And another thing, so there is a corresponding result for all kind of subvarieties. And now, so you need to define an invariant which is similar to the genus, which is a kind of generalization of the genus, and there is such a invariant which is called the volume of the canonical bundle. So I won't define it, but just to say that there is also a generalization for higher dimensional subvarieties. And so let me give a third properties. So now for if you want to say that a curve is hyperbolic, so you have the genus is one way to measure it, but there is even there is another way which is finer, which is a gonality. And so the third result is that there is also a function, another function now of D, such that if you let P be bigger than this function of D, then all curves in XP have gonality at least D. Okay, so recall that the gonality of a curve is the minimal degree of a non-constant map from rational map from your curve to P1. Okay, so it's analogous in number theory. You have the degree of number field extension. So it's a geometric analogous of this notion. Okay, and it turned out that so 3 is it's stronger than 2 for curves. Okay, there is an inequality between the genus and the gonality. And so something about so I will comment about the proof, but in fact the proof can, in many cases, you can make this function n and n prime explicit. So for example, in the case of AGN, you have the following result. So any curve in AGN has gonality at least, and so n over 6j, you take the smallest integer bigger than this. I've always forgot how you say this in English, but I think you understand. the cell or something like this. Okay, and another corollary of this theorem. So from the setup, so you can apply the theorem to any variety supporting a variation of a structure. And so an interesting application is to moduli space of polarized varieties. So each time you know that there is a Torelli theorem, so telling you that you can realize your moduli of some kind of varieties as a subvariety of some period domain, then you can apply the theorem. And so one example of this is given by polarized varieties with a trivial canonical bundle. Okay, so it's an observation of Griffiths and Andreotti. I think that they satisfy the infinitesimal Torelli theorem. So in particular, theorem 1 applies to the following varieties. So XP is a moduli stack, but in fact space when P is at least 3 moduli of polarized complex varieties, so smooth proper varieties, with a trivial canonical bundle. And also, yes, I should say, and fixed Hilbert polynomial, so that I get really a variety of finite type, something of finite type. And the P correspond to a level structure, so level P structure. So in this case, I'm not looking at the H1, but rather at the middle degree cohomology. Okay, so the Torelli theorem is with respect to the middle degree cohomology. So are there any questions about these statements?
Johan, maybe, just a moment. In general, do you mean moduli space or Hilbert scheme in this case? Because in general, the moduli space might not exist in this generality, or
I think it exists in this generality. So
just triviality of a canonical bundle for a variety is enough?
Yeah. So they are result of Viveg, but in fact you can also prove this using the Artin approach. Because yeah.
I was thinking that Viveg result is for just Calabi-Yau varieties.
So meaning that you
more conditions is needed. I don't know, but anyway.
Okay, I should check, but I think it works also. But if you want, we can restrict to Calabi-Yaus, but I think it works in this generality.
Okay.
So, yeah, but you are right. It's not written, but I think I verified. I should check my notes.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question?
Can you say a bit more about this condition of the period map being quasi-finite? Is it so? For instance, if you have if your local system has geometric is geometric, comes from cohomology, is it always satisfied, or?
No, because so it corresponds. So in the case where you have a Torelli theorem, so infinitesimal Torelli theorem, it says that you have the map to the moduli space is quasi-finite. Okay, so if you take the opposite situation, if a subvariety is contracted by the period map, so then the variation of Roth structure is trivial on it. And then, of course, you cannot say anything out of the variation of Roth structure. So this is the condition so that you can say something about all subvarieties.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Then to what I said before is if you start with any variation of Roth structure, in fact, you can contract all the subvariety on which the variation is constant, or maybe up to going to a finite étale cover, you can contract all subvarieties on which the variation is constant, and what you get is still an algebraic varieties. Okay. This is a result. It was a constructor of Griffiths that I proved with Ben Baker and Jacob Timmerman. That what you get. So Griffiths explains that you get Well, I'm a bit sloppy. You need to make the period map proper and something like this. But what you in the end, Griffiths explained that you get an analytic space, and we prove that it's not only an analytic space, but that it's really it has a canonical and in fact unique structure of algebraic varieties. Okay. So now I'd like to go on and explain one of the main ingredients of the proof. And so as I said before, the main novelty in this work is that there were well, in the last year there were many work around this kind of question, but the novelty is that in fact to prove that there is one line bundle that controls the positivity of all the subvarieties. And then, so if you want to make the subvariety hyperbolic in some way, in the end, what you only need to do is to make this line bundle positive in some way. Okay. So I will concentrate on this, and so it goes under the name of Arakelov inequalities. So there are some classical Arakelov inequalities that are about that deals with variation of Roth structure on curves, and so I explain a way to generalize this kind of inequality over any kind of varieties, not only curves. Okay, so higher dimensional Arakelov inequalities. Okay, so here is the setup. So I will fix X bar a smooth projective variety. I will also take a simple normal crossing divisor in X bar, and I will fix a variation of Hodge structure on the complementary, so with an integer structure. So Z PVHS on X bar minus D. So in this situation, there is a canonical line bundle associated to this variation. So it was introduced by Griffiths. So what you do is, so you have the Hodge filtration. You can take the determinant of all the steps and do the tensor product. And so it's a line bundle, because it was introduced by Griffiths, call it Griffiths line bundle. And okay, so this is this line bundle, because the variation of Hodge structure is defined only on the open part. A priori, it's defined on the open part. But so an important fact is that this line bundle extends. So it has a canonical extension to the whole variety. So it's a canonical and functorial extension. So I will write it like this with a bar to X bar. But so subtlety is that in general, it's not as a line bundle, but only as a Q line bundle. Okay, so as an element of the Picard group, but tensored by Q. So if you want, and because it's on a compact variety, I'm saying that L does not extend as a line bundle, but a power of L extends as a line bundle. And functorially. So yes. So this is related to the theory of Schmidt, the nilpotent orbit theorem, but yeah, well, basically this. And so now what is this Arakelov inequality? So I need also to assume some maximality, but now only generically maximal. So I will assume that the period map of V is generically immersive, or generically finite, if you prefer. It is the same. And so then you have the following inequality. So let me write it first, and then I will explain the meaning. Okay, so first, so here. So on the right, this object is a log canonical bundle of the pair. Okay, so it is, I have the canonical line bundle of the compactification, and I twist it by D. Okay, so I look at canonical form, but maybe with a pole of order 1 along D. So here on the left, I have the Griffiths line bundle, and gamma is just a constant, so it's a positive number. It's a constant that depends only on the rank of the Hodge bundles. Okay, so there is a formula, but it's not very important. Okay, so on the rank of the FPs. And so now what do I mean by this inequality? How can I compare a line bundle on a compact variety? So if I were on a curve, I just mean that the degree satisfies this inequality. And now in general, what I do is I restrict to curve. But because I ask only this generically immersive hypothesis, so I need to restrict to curves that moves in a family that covers the variety. Okay, so the technical notion is that so there is a notion of a pseudo-effective line bundle. It's a positivity notion for line bundle, and so this inequality means that the difference is pseudo-effective. The corresponding divisor classes. Okay, so in particular, each time you restrict both line bundle to a complete intersection curve and you take degree, you have this inequality. But it's stronger than this. Okay. So let me give an example. Oops.
Maybe just to be sure, the gamma is independent of all these curves that you.
Yeah. It's really so I forgot the gamma is basically sum of the rank of the FPs to some constant. I'm sorry, I forgot the constant. I can give you, so 1 over gamma is less than the weight to the weight squared divided by 4 times the rank of the line bundle. I mean, it's something very explicit. Well, if you're interested, I can give you the explicit formula later. But yes, it depends only on the rank of FPs, and no, it does not depend on X, and nor on the curve or whatever. So let me give the example of family of abelian varieties, and then so it's a nice illustration. So I consider an abelian scheme. So A over, so in the same setting, so smooth projective variety and without a normal crossing divisor. And so an abelian scheme of relative dimension G. And I ask that it has maximal variation. And so by this, I mean that the map to the moduli space is generically finite. And moreover, I will assume that this abelian scheme extends as a semi-abelian scheme. as a semi-abelian scheme. So that I will write like this: A bar over X bar, and with a zero section that I will write by E. Okay, so it's a special case of the preceding setting, and then if I specialize the inequality in this setting, what I get is the following. So if I pull back the relative canonical bundle of my semi-abelian scheme, then I can compare with the log canonical bundle of the pair. And now, so you see the constant is G over 2. So it depends only on the relative dimension. So this when X is a curve, this inequality is classical and it's due to Faltings. I mean, and so not with this constant, but so I guess Deligne gave this constant later. So on curve, it's a well-known inequality, but as far as I know, it's not known. Yeah. So in this setting, maybe so for abelian varieties, I think Viveg also prove something like this. So yeah, I have to be careful. But so then yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe there is a work of Viveg like this in Notes about Arakelov inequality. But then in the theorem that I stated in the generality of variation of our structure, I think it's new, and the method of proof also is new. Okay, and so why this kind of inequality is interesting? So it's related to what I said before. So in the more general setting, so assume that you know that the Griffiths line bundle is positive in some way. So in fact, I need to take the Griffiths line bundle and twist it along the boundary by this. So -1 over gamma d. And I assume that this line bundle is big. So it's positive in some way. And then directly from the inequality, you get that every subvariety of X, which is not contained, so in the augmented base locus of this line bundle. So this is a locus where it's not positive in some way. So it's, well, I have no time to give many details of this. But so it's a natural locus associated to this, and which is a proper subvariety, proper closed subvariety. So any subvariety of X not contained in this proper subvariety is of general type. Okay, so this makes the links with the theorem 1. So the result that says that if I add a level structure, then all subvarieties are of general type. So the corollary says that to imply theorem 1, what I need to do is to prove this kind of property. So to prove that we can make this extended Griffiths line bundle and twisted big. Okay, and so just to give an idea, so it turned out that the quasi-finite hypothesis ensures that without twisting, so LV bar is big. And now all the remaining of the proofs to show that if you add level structure, then the twist one get big also. So maybe I take the 5 minutes I have to give an idea of the proof of this Arakelov inequality. So it will be just an idea of proof of theorem 4. Okay, so first observation is that, so I have this line bundle, and this line bundle comes with a Hermitian metric, a canonical one. Okay, H. So this is a metric which is constructed from the polarization, from the H I had before. And so what you can do is look at the first Chern form of this line bundle. Sorry, so it's only on the open part. So the first Chern form of this line bundle equipped with this metric. Okay, so this is a 1-1 form on X. And so some computation, which goes back to Griffiths and Schmidt, proves that this 1-1 form is so what we can call a pseudo-Keller form. So it's a Keller form on an open subset, but maybe only semi-positive on some hypersurface. Okay, so you get essentially a Keller form almost everywhere. And so out of this Keller form, you get a Keller metric on the tangent bundle of X. And so also you have the induced metric on the canonical bundle. And you can compute explicitly its curvature and check that it has some negative. Yeah, so it depends which one. So this one, so with negative curvature properties. And so on the induced metric on the canonical bundle has some positivity curvature properties. Okay, so then if you work on the open subset where really you have a Keller metric, then also you can do some computation. So, and this computation shows that you can compare the first shared form of L equipped with H and the canonical bundle equipped with the induced metric. Okay, so you have an inequality like this, which holds pointwise. So it's an inequality between two positive 1-1 form. And so the gamma that appears here is really related to the curvature, so in fact to the holomorphic sectional curvature of the associated period domain in the horizontal direction. And now the last step. So you have these two forms on an open of X, and so what you need to do is to prove two things. So first, to prove that they extend as current on the whole of X bar, and that the inequality extend as an inequality by currents, and also that the two currents that you get represent the Chern class of the corresponding line bundle. Okay, so this need to show that this extends as an inequality so between now closed positive currents on X bar and these two currents, so and that they represent these currents represent C1 of L bar V and C1 of omega, X bar D. Okay, so, and to do this, you need to know really something about the asymptotic behavior of all the metric you have in hand. Okay, so you need the the work by Katani, Kaplan-Schmidt, Kashiwara Kawai that give a precise behavior of the Hodge metric at infinity. Okay, so this is really a sketch of the proof, but it gives at least an idea. So the proof really used the metric, and it's so in particular it gives a new proof of the classical Arakelov inequalities on curves, which yeah. Okay, so I guess I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Johan. Questions?
Johan,
Yeah, so maybe I will stop. Yeah.
AGN itself has a lot of sub-varieties which are moduli space. Maybe, for example, Frank asked for curves. For example, there are curves inside in the AGN which themselves there are moduli space of abelian varieties with some endomorphism structure and so on. So the proof of this to be of general type, it is easier direct. I was thinking if it is easier directly to prove or using your result. What do you think?
So you mean you look at moduli space of abelian varieties with additional structure?
Exactly.
And but so something about my result is that yeah, for example, it's not that AG is of general type when G is sufficiently big. So I don't remember the constant, but I cannot say something like this. What I can say is that if you add level structure, then I get a uniform statement that not only AG is of general type, but all its subvarieties. Okay, so it's I cannot say something sharp about AG, but I think the interesting part of the statement is that I can say something uniform about all the subvariety of AGN. So now, for your question, so if I take sub-Shimura varieties of AGN, the kind of criterion that I get will say that if I have more information about the positivity of the automorphic line bundle on these sub-Shimura varieties, then the constant that I need to get my uniform statement will be better. I don't know if I'm clear.
Yes.
But so you remember so for AGN, I need that n is bigger than 6j. Now, if you take a subvariety of this, you will probably get a better constant, and it will be sufficient to take n smaller. And but for this, you need to know some information about the cone, the ample cone of these Shimura varieties. And then you need to know the existence. So more precisely, you need to know existence of some cusp forms vanishing. So when you have a cusp form on your Shimura varieties, you can look at what people call the weight of this cusp form. So the power of the automorphic line bundle you are looking at, and also the order of vanishing of your form at infinity. And what is important is to know that there is a form of small degree or small weight, that vanish a lot at infinity. And this is the ratio of these two things, which is important.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, maybe I will stop recording.